So that's basically what is on the table. Let's talk to a man who knows much more about this than I do. Woe King, founder of Hi9, Cornish tech startup. Woe, how would you review it? Come on, if you were a teacher, out of 10, what do you reckon on the plan?
Could do better, but at least trying hard.
Oh, yes, that's a very good teachery summary. So the idea is we become an AI superpower. We don't allow our ideas to be bought up by the big tech bros in the United States, so we do it all ourselves. What do you think is realistic? What's unrealistic about it?
Okay, this is all about trying to get hold of data. So the large language models need data. They're just hungry for it. Now, the biggest thing we've got is the NHS data, and that's been controversial for a long time. No one has got a whole pool of data like we have in this country because of our centralised health system. That is incredibly valuable on everyone wants access to it. Our media history is huge and rich and long, and I really quickly, because the action plan just came out, went through this really quickly, and right now I know there's a consultation out which got kicked along the road by the last government about how can large language models go over all this content, all this copyrighted content, anywhere from BBC shows to ITV shows to books and things like this. Now, they pushed this down and now do another consultation. The creative industries are fighting hard back. In order for us to have a big AI industry, they're going to have to lose. Now, in the action plan, they've talked about this big, huge media library, which they're going to sort out by spring. Good luck with that. I don't know how they're going to square that circle.
So taking this back a step, for those people who aren't really conversant in even the vaguest way with AI learns by consuming material. It needs to consume data about our health, everything from Only Fools and Horses to Winston Churchill speeches, to learn to be a broader picture of the world.
Yes.
And you're saying that this is all well and good, but accessing this broad data is going to be controversial.
If we do it, we're already an AI superpower. We're third biggest in the world. If we do it, it will supercharge us, but you're going to have to get over vested interest. There's two things you need, which has created this AI revolution. One, huge amounts of data, which we've got in this country, better than most, apart from maybe America. Two, you need the chips, and they need an enormous amount of power. When he's talking about these data centers, that's all well and good. They're going to need an insane amount of power. Maybe an extra 8 to 10% of our grid is going to be done on these data centers. Now, all the tech companies, all the big ones, are now invested in nuclear. And so it's not in this announcement, but I can't see how it can be done without modular nuclear reactors. It's just impossible. Because
of the sheer amount of power you need for the storage, the cooling.
The chips take a huge amounts of power. So you've got a huge amount of data, and then you've got these chips. Those are the two things. Now, if we get both those things right, we are golden. If not, we're left behind.
If all of this comes to pass, you're talking about some potentially rather large flies in the ointment, but, you know, if you presume those hurdles aside, this comes to pass, what could it mean in terms of the transformation of the lives of ordinary people who don't know AI from a hole in the ground?
Everyone's quite sort of depressed right now about where we go. The government is sort of losing its direction. I mean, I don't care what your politics are, they're sort of feeling like, where do we go for growth and our ideas? There is no other game in town. Our demographic challenges, our public sector, our growth, environmental. Without AI, there's no solution. With AI, this government might just be the luckiest government that's ever been around. They could have just fallen in to the biggest revolution which could transform. I've seen predictions of 6% growth if we get it right. It will meet our demographic elderly care challenge, which is what we're in, education, every single sector, environmental, can be sorted out with the use of AI. Without it, though, I don't know of another solution.
We're going to talk a little bit about what's being developed here in Cornwall by your company, but I'd just like to talk about one of the visions is the idea that there won't be a bunch of very clever people who create some fabulous AI concept and then it is bought up by the big boys, and they all go and retire to Malibu to bum and, you know, drink mojitos. What is ever going to stop that? Because isn't that the vision that you have, you know, as a tech startup, of actually selling out to the big boys and making a mint?
No, not in AI, right? The people who are actually on the top of AI don't seem to care that much about making money, right? They are in it, and they have extolled this all the way from the start. And yes, there's a lot of people in there who, you know, have nefarious ethics, I might feel, but they're not in it for the money. They don't need to make any more money. They generally do believe that they're going to change society for the better for this technology. And that's vitally important. Now, when you talked about, so already the government's plan doesn't take into account what's going to happen this year. They're always behind. Hey, most people are, right? I'm always chasing up. There's something called agents coming out this year, which this action plan doesn't do. Those are all very little AIs working in concert. So you can turn around to your AI and say, oh, book me a plane ticket to San Francisco. It will do everything for you, including if you haven't got your passport, get your passport, do everything. All these little things will just do everything automatically, right? Now, when we talk about this centralization, there are people who want to do the centralization, but you're going to start to move down to what's called personal GPT, which has already started to happen. That is an AI that is on your device, that is yours, that maybe isn't connected to the internet. The government keeps on talking about, because it's a Labour government, of sort of supply side AI. Top down, this is what we're going to do. What they can't or haven't understood is actually everyone's going to have AI. And how do they respond to that? Now, I was asked to talk at Amazon in London in front of all local government organisations, and I did this talk, and they all sort of look at me open mouthed, kind of things I was saying. And then we had this open forum and people asking questions, and I turned around and said, and then someone said, oh, we're getting lots of freedom of information requests, and people are making AI to do it, and we could create AI in order to answer them. And I said, no, what you don't realise is that everybody in this country will be able to ask for services from you, which you have to deliver because it's the law, and they will be better in that request than you know. And how are you going to deal with that? Yeah,
there's a lot.
And they didn't know how to answer.
You're trying to provide some solutions, though, in the world of health.
Well, it's bottom up. It's bottom up. That's the big revolution.
Is
the bottom up.
Let's talk about the box that you've got beside you there, which is a screen. I would describe it as looking a little bit like the kind of seat back telly you might get in an aircraft.
Yeah, so this is early. I mean, it's going to be half the size of this. I'll put a picture of my Twitter, My Woe Is Me. We can see all the links. Now, this is called Monica. And
Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica. So Monica we did this with Amazon and with a Devon care home called Rowcroft, amazing woman called Jill. And what she managed to show us is how we can use AI in a hospice and care home setting. And so what this does is very ethically record when someone drinks. That might seem like a big thing or a small thing, but that's the biggest reason why people fall over. And it happened to my wife's mother, and they break a hip, they end up in our hospice, and they end up at the end of life. What this does is send messages and notifications in order for staff to understand when someone isn't hydrated. And
you were explaining to me that it is not sending video back.
Nope.
So there is no one actually looking at, if you had it, I was sitting there in my seat, nobody can look at me and see what I'm reading or see whether I put my pants on my head or whatever I'm doing. But what it is doing is clocking that movement of drinking, maybe looking at the water bottle to see how much liquid is going down. And 24/7 that can run, and just give an alarm, go beep beep beep,
beep beep beep, change colour. So what we did is for the nurses, as they go along, they literally open it up and then they tap, they record the person's face. What it does is create an AI model of the face, not actual image of the face. They then put it down and leave it, and that's it. And so therefore, when a nurse walks into, let's say, a room, let's say they've got quite a few, you can see the screens go orange or red. Right, and they go, oh, that person hasn't drunk in a particular period.
Encouraged.
Or we can send a message, or it can start playing a little bit of music, right? And that's also used for things like in the end we're going to have full monitoring, lots of different things, and also to make an alarm if someone tries to leave the care home who shouldn't be without unattended. Now, this is all very ethical ways of thinking about AI, but actually has a real quality of life. And that's what we're doing now in this and in education with surf grades, is that to actually, what are the big problems that can be solved ethically using AI?
Just explain a bit about your education work that you're doing.
So this is with Julie Skentelbery, and this is in Cornwall, and there's lots of schools. I'm not sure I should mention them because it's last minute, but grading is so Catherine Catherine was saying the fact that she's up at 10:30 at night and she's grading papers and she's not seeing her kids, and it's a quality of life issue. What we've done with surf grades is the fact that it grades initially for you, so you just put in the kids' papers, again all done ethically, so the fact that we don't have to worry about copyright. It then grades them, and then what happens is the teacher then changes that grade or feedback or correction, and it learns around the teacher. Then that teacher has their own AI. Now, what we found is with Catherine, who's been amazing, is the fact that they can then check with other, which is what they do, teachers, in order to, they check their work about grading. Well, that other teacher could have an AI, and so it just gets their eye to check theirs. So instead of thinking of an AI which replaces this, you have AI that every teacher 10x, 100x themselves, and then use other teachers in order to check. That's a much more ethical way of thinking about AI, and it saves them a huge amount of time.
That is remarkable. And maybe we'll all just end up with avatars and we can just, do what we want all day.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it? Well, it's really nice to see you. Do keep us in touch with what's going on. Cornwall's not going to be some hot AI centre, is it, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, you reckon?
Yes. It's ideally located more than anywhere else in Europe, maybe in the world. The edge AI is the big thing, and that's AI in devices that have little no network connection. And the sectors that they're used in is mining, marine, fishing, environmental, and agriculture. Name me one place in this whole country which has all of them.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. And bye, Monica.
Oh, I leave quite an impression.